Hello and welcome to Everyday Tarot, your daily dive into the divine wisdom of the tarot. I'm your host, Camille A. Saunders, healer, tarot enthusiast, and professional witch, and today I'm talking about astrology. Whether you're a seasoned tarot reader or just starting to explore, this podcast offers daily insights, intuitive messages, and practical advice drawn from the cards. Each episode is designed to help you connect with your inner wisdom, find clarity in your decisions, and tap into the energy of the universe. Tune in every day, Monday through Friday, for fresh perspectives and empowering guidance from the tarot as interpreted by me. If you love the show, the best way to support it for free is by listening daily, leaving a review, and subscribing or following in your favorite podcast app. I am kicking off a 12-week Tarot for Transformation live course starting at the end of this summer. So if you're interested in that, in some back-to-school energy of deep diving in 12 different archetypes of the major arcana with me, please sign up so we can have some fun together. If you're interested in crafting your own tarot cards, you can get my full workshop with the full hour-long recording by step-by-step method, examples of the tarot cards I've created, journaling questions, and a PDF to walk you all through it just as if I was there crafting with you. You can get that for $33. The link is in the show notes to purchase that now. I've updated my Patreon benefits to be bigger and better than ever, so if you want an individual card pulled for you once a month live on the podcast when I do my New Moon Collective Tarot readings, join the Everyday Tarot Patreon family at the Lovers level. And if you'd like to support the podcast even further, you can get a one-time individual 5-card reading in addition to all the other benefits if you join the Witch Bitch level on the Patreon. I just did my new moon in Virgo, a collective tarot reading on August 21st. Technically, the new moon in Virgo comes into fruition on Friday night Pacific time around 11 p.m. on the 22nd, but I did mine on the 21st. So if you didn't watch live, the link will be in the show notes to check that out as well if you want to see kind of what's upcoming in the next couple of weeks. If you're local to the greater Puget Sound area, join us at our next Let's Talk Tarot meetup group event. If you're interested in joining my weekly newsletter that has all the up-to-date information on upcoming events, presentations, and more that I am up to, you can also get a free PDF with my 2025 5-card tarot spread I created just for you, my lovely listeners, when you sign up to join my newsletter list. And finally, if you don't already know, I'm a sex and relationships therapist and coach, seeing clients virtually all over from my home office. I love working with queer, poly, and witchy clients, so if you'd like to work with someone that doesn't judge you, is witchy just like you, and helps you learn how to deal with anxiety, chronic pain or illness, communication issues, self-advocacy, and sex, head to my website and book a free consultation now to start your journey. All right, so we are in season 13 where I'm talking all about divination in the Harry Potter series. If you haven't listened to my other seasons yet, you should check those out. But yeah, so today I'm talking about astrology. I'll go through some definition and history. We'll analyze how it shows up in the Harry Potter books. I will go through 3 tarot cards I picked that embody what I think of as astrology. And then we will pull a card at the end to see what message astrology has for us today. All right, so I like Chani Nicholas's Chani app, Chani. I pay for their astrology app, so I was gonna go ahead and look on there about their sort of definition about astrology, because I love how they view astrology. So they talk about, right, astrology and our birth chart, right, your astrological birth chart, if you have heard this phrasing, is all about knowing your personal power and your life's potential. You can come face to face with your best self and your growth edges, and through it gain a clearer understanding of who you are and what you've been and where you're headed. Being witnessed in this way not only clarifies our complexities and desires, it helps us better understand and prepare for the challenges we will face. Astrology is not therapy, but it is therapeutic. It's a relentless reminder that we are the way we are on purpose. And the Chani app gives folks, they also wrote the book, You Were Born for This. They say their app is all about giving people the tools they need to feel seen, safe, and heal. Because when you have the right resources, it's a whole lot easier to unlock your calling and be of service to the world. And they were built by astrologers and founded by them, professional astrologers. And I just love their approach to things. A lot of astrology apps or birth chart places online are either you have to pay up front, which the Chani app is free. You can pay for a full membership subscription in the app, which I do because I love it. But you don't have to. You can still get a lot of information for free from them. And yeah, what else do I want to say about that? So yeah, your birth chart is basically what planets and asteroids and things were in the sky and where they were the moment you were born. So often we talk about sun signs, moon signs, and rising signs. So your sun sign is kind of like where, there's different ways to view astrology. But again, if we think of, especially to relate it back to the Harry Potter series, right? We picture the night sky. There are all these stars, planets, and we see them kind of from Earth. And it's sort of like this capture. Again, your birth chart is like capturing where everything was the moment you were born, which again is sort of said to greatly influence your life, how you will go through it. Right, the birth chart provides these kind of like landmarks that helps us identify where things were in their travels, right? Again, if you think of like a solar system creation that you may have done in like elementary or middle school, where you create like where the planets go and how they, they go in this ecliptic, rotation around the sun and around other things. Like that is what we are tracking in astrology. So again, where the stars are arranged along the ecliptic, and that belongs to different zodiac families of constellations. It takes the sun a year, right, to make its way through all of the constellations to come back. And this is where we get the different zodiac signs. And again, based on the constellations, astrologers in ancient Mesopotamia divided it into 12 equal segments of 30 degrees, which formed the 12 signs of the zodiac. And the 12 signs are linked to the 12 zodiac constellations, but there are also like differences. And again, the constellations are clusters of stars, right, that form patterns in the sky, like you've probably heard of different ones, right? We have like the Big Dipper, right, is like a constellation, right? It's not just one star, it is multiple. What else? And yeah, the zodiac constellations refer to like literal physical stars we can perceive in the night sky. The zodiac signs, right, don't necessarily mean the actual star clusters in space. They're part of this like framework that was created or set down by the Mesopotamians in the 5th century BCE. And the zodiac constellations possess these like different sizes and shapes and take up different stretches of the sky, and others are wedged in between, where the zodiac signs are 12 equal segments. So they're theoretical and symbolic. And there's different ways to like read the zodiac things. They go into this. I'll link to Chani.com's like explanation with astrology and kind of learning. Astrology is a thing that gets very simplified down, I would say, in kind of like pop culture or when it's put out, right? We all kind of know about like, again, our zodiac signs, like our horoscopes, which is usually just based off of your sun sign of like, oh, if you're an Aquarius today, this is what's going to happen to you, which is a very simplified version of that. And it is a very deep, learned like thing, because again, it's based off of things that people have been observing and understanding for hundreds, if not thousands of years. No, definitely thousands of years at this point. And it's a much more recent, like the 20th century, that astrologers described the elements as qualities of signs' personalities, right? Where now we think of, oh, Taurus is an earth sign, or Aquarius is an air sign. Like that's very recent, actually. There's also different modalities, which are like cardinal, fixed, and mutable signs. There's different planetary rulerships. But again, I'm going to try to like keep it simple today. And I'll link to Chani's website where you can get a lot of this information for free about astrology. And also you can use their app, which is wonderful and like highly, highly recommend. So that is sort of briefly about astrology, again, very briefly. So let's talk about how it shows up in the Harry Potter series, which again is also sort of brief, although we get this kind of like underlying, understanding as to how astrology impacts the entire Harry Potter series. And so astrology, right, again, it's like a system of using relative positions of celestial bodies, including sun, moon, planets, stars, to predict future events or gain insight into personality, relationships, and health. It's been practiced for a very long time, and it's not to be confused with astronomy. Astrology is a type of divination. Astronomy is like a science of studying the stars, or like their locations, and not so much this like looking at it over a time period. Like it's a very like you are notating, like you are taking notes on where things are, not like interpreting them as to what that might mean long term. So we hear about in the Harry Potter series, we hear about humans and centaurs practicing astrology. So Sybil Trelawney, our divination teacher, talks about, "My dears, it is time for us to consider the stars, the movements of the planets, and the mysterious portents that reveal only to those who understand the steps of the celestial dance. Human destiny may be deciphered by the planetary rays which intermingle," and she goes on and on. So like the human astrological practice was to draw a circular chart. Again, this is like what you would see a personal chart, your birth chart. And creating it is a very intensive process, requiring, again, if you had to create this on your own, now we have computers or things that can like create their software for creating all of this for us. But of course, in the Harry Potter world, they are doing things by hand. They don't use this sort of technology, they use magic. But they do this part by hand, which again is historically how it was done before we had computers. But you consult timetables and different angles. Like it's a very intensive process. And again, it sort of creates this like visual image of like where everything was the moment you were born. And again, uses planetary movements to work out like a personal forecast, which is called your horoscope. So again, that's what that is. So we hear about also that like the humans, centaurs practice astrology. Although again, I would say, I don't think anywhere in the series they use the word astrology. They say they chart the stars or the celestial dance, the movements of the planets, but that is what astrology is. But the centaurs' approach is different. They say they use astrology to foresee major or world-changing events. They are looking at it on a like decade, right, century, like hundreds of years, observing celestial movements, unlocking their secrets and like passing this on to each other. Whereas the centaurs definitely view the human experience or teaching of astrology as very human-centric, in that it is a lot more looking at like the day-to-day, the next 24 hours, the next like week or month, and not this like decade-long thing. And Ferenczi stresses that like you can misinterpret it. Like we can try, because you can see things coming. That's what astrology is. You can see where the planets will be, but you don't know what that means. And that is like what the interpretation of astrology is just like making meaning or trying to understand meaning of what they see. And we get this like I've been talking about kind of like favorite quote or like favorite professor, but today we get the Mars is bright tonight, like cemented in my brain from the Harry Potter movies that Ferenz says kind of over and over to Harry and even Hagrid when he's around. And they just like kind of roll their eyes at it because it is this very like subtle way of speaking about astrology where they're saying something by that, right? If, again, we can interpret that Mars is a warring god, planet causing burns and accidents. Like we hear about this in the series that like it happens a couple times. Like again, Ferenzi states that they interpret Mars shining brightly as a harbinger of war. So when he's saying, right, in the first book, Mars is bright tonight, like again, which is cemented in the movie, he says some more things in the book, but that is saying like, it's coming, right? Like a lot of the wizarding world is unwilling to, recognize that war is coming back, right? They've had this war, it's been sort of quiet for 11 years or so, they think, and they're like not really ready to accept that information. But again, that's really what that Mars is bright tonight means. And like, again, it's not really explained explicitly in the book, and the humans sort of just kind of like, I don't know, brush it off. So anyway, that's kind of what we see in the series. And the centaurs and the humans, again, they sort of like don't seem to get along in their like relationship to astrology and how they do it differently. Which would be interesting to explore like even further, but we're going to keep it more brief today. So the cards I pulled were the Star from the Sastrobito Tarot deck. I pulled the Captain from the Citadel, a Fantasy Oracle deck, and I pulled the Hermit from the Desert Illuminations Tarot deck. And all of these have stars in the background of them, which was the main reason I pulled them, right? The Star, you can understand why I could pull that card, but I really like this one from the Sastrobito Tarot deck because it literally shows like an astronomer like in space, and we see stars behind them. The Star card is very like hopeful and thinking about the future, again very similar to kind of this view of astrology. In the Citadel with the Captain card, I'm gonna look it up real quick here. We have the Captain, there we go. It says, it may feel safe to attempt a task alone, but some things are easier with a little teamwork. Don't ignore the talents of those around you. You need the experience and diversity of others to accomplish your goals. Be the driving force that's needed to get things done, but make sure to acknowledge the value that each person brings to the table. And again, this is about like a captain taking command and teamwork, like perhaps of a ship or something. And again, I really see this with astrology, like the centaurs seem to do astrology in community. They they seemingly like have this very, again, deep understanding and talking about it and a lot of deep discussions about it, where when we see it in the human world in the Harry Potter series, it's a little more like refer to your book or like do your homework on your own about what this means. And it's not this community aspect that I think this card is kind of calling us into. And then I pulled the Hermit card, right, which like maybe on the surface would be like, oh, do it by yourself. But the Hermit card is really about, again, kind of separating yourself maybe from your community, which again, Ferenzi does. He does get kicked out of his community at times because he's actually more willing to interact and like try to understand and help the humans a bit more than the rest of the centaurs. The rest of the centaurs are kind of like, that's not our place. The humans don't really respect us and our abilities and talents and our like sovereignty as a species. So like, why should we help them? But the Hermit card is like depicted on here. It's a lonesome cowboy riding his trusty horse, following the direction of the stars on his own path, chosen to go it alone because he's accomplished, self-sufficient, and has the knowledge, right? Again, this is how we see Ferenzi. He's like out here. He helps Harry when Voldemort comes in the first book and when he's in the forest, and he kind of saves him. And this is when we get the Mars is bright tonight moment. And the Hermit card tells you, right, to take all the time you need to work on yourself and dive into your inner wisdom. Again, not necessarily that like, you do need to go it alone, like that's okay, but also it could be this meditation, being in solitary space, like spirituality, and letting go of things that don't serve you at this point in your life. Also, I think about the hermit as, right, you, again, if you think of like hermiting, so you go, you take all your stuff with you, you go into the woods or the mountains or wherever it is, you learn all the things, right, almost like a monk or something who goes and like goes to a temple and worships and like learns the ways, and then you go back out, you go back into society, and you integrate, you teach what you have learned to others. And that is really what the Hermit card is about. It's learning so you can share, which again, I think, right, Ferenzi, he comes back to the school and becomes a professor, partially because he's been banished from his, as taking on this role as a professor at the school of Hogwarts to teach wizards a bit about the centaur understanding of astrology. He gets kicked out of like his family, his community, his, I don't know if they call it a herd, but and we see he has this footprint on his chest of literally they got kicked out literally by the centaurs because he was willing to share this kind of like communal knowledge with other people. And so, right, that is also what the hermit is about. Like sometimes it's not an easy journey, but then coming back and sharing what you've learned to try to get other people to understand the world a bit better is what it's all about. So let me go ahead and pull a card to see if there's any other messages we need to hear today from astrology. And I'm going to be pulling from the Herb Crafters Tarot, my newest deck. Let's see here. Okay, well, I got this card earlier, not from this deck, but I pulled the Strength card. On here, the Strength card is depicted as garlic, a very strong herb or plant, as you might know if you have ever had garlic breath. Let's see here. So yeah, courage dwells in the soft spirit. Meet adversity with inner fire. Garlic strengthens the heart and increases stamina. You have the power to persevere. Cultivate reliable habits that enhance your vitality. Planting garlic around the roots of roses strengthens the leaves, encouraging more flowers to bloom. That's very interesting. Cooking with garlic daily boosts the immune system, protecting against illness. Drinking garlic tea heats up the body, igniting passion. Step into your power, but remember, a compassionate approach is powerful. Adding honey to garlic tames the medicine, making it more effective and palatable. Embrace both the gentle and the wild within. And I feel like that is the message today. Find the gentle and wild parts of you to cultivate. All right, well, if you'd like to join me on the journey of using the tarot for transformation, deep diving for 12 weeks of calls and journaling about what happens when we want to transform our lives through the tarot by embodying and learning about different archetypes in the major arcana, the link is in the show notes to sign up for that. Links for the tarot decks will always be in the show notes as well and on my website if you'd like to look at them or purchase them. And thanks for joining me today on Everyday Tarot. Just as a reminder, the podcast comes out daily, Monday through Friday for all of 2025. You can email me, me@CamilleASaunders.com with your thoughts, questions, and more. All right, see you soon. Bye-bye.